there were extension talks between the Avs and Rantanen, and then Rantanen said a few days later he was traded. Today is March 19th, 2025. Welcome to the Checking From Behind podcast. I'm your host, Zach, joined as always by Preston, and we're starting to hit that little 2-week, 3-week period that there's not a whole bunch of news happening. We're in that process of the trade deadline is behind us, and the playoffs are not quite here just yet. We do have some playoff races we're going to go over in a bit. There's a couple teams that are really surging, getting themselves back in the playoff talk. Plus, maybe there's a certain team getting hot at the right time. And also, last week, it was announced that the 2025 Global Series is going to be returning to Stockholm, this time featuring the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Nashville Predators.
Two
That's
very
rough.
high-level competitive teams. But you know what? I'm sure they'll be happy just to see Sidney Crosby and Roman Josi and some of those players. So, it's always cool, and the NHL comes to your backyard.
I don't get why they ended up bringing Pittsburgh in that. They could have picked any other team to go to
I
Stockholm
mean,
for this.
from my understanding is when they pick those teams, they're trying to pick teams that have a lot of players from that country.
Okay.
Just try to make it a little bit more special for the fans, because you got Eric Carlson, Roman Josi, UC Saros. No, he's Finnish,
Yeah,
isn't
he's
he?
Finnish.
Same thing. I mean, of course, so you can put Sidney Crosby anywhere in the world and people will come see him play. So
Yeah, of course.
I mean, cool chance for Swedish people to see some NHL hockey. I'm sure they'll sell out both the games, and it'll be a packed house. Those games are always fun because you always see it's like when they do the NFL games in Europe where there's just a random assortment of fans where they're just wearing the most random jerseys ever, and they're not even really cheering for either team. They're just happy to be there.
They're just like, shit, we get to see NHL hockey in
Yeah.
person. Let's go.
Yeah, so I
And
mean, it's fun. I mean, I don't like it when my team's in it. Like the Sabres were in it last year, and the games were at really weird times and everything. I mean, but it's cool for the people there.
aren't they like at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, depending on where they are, and
It
1
depends where they
o'clock?
are. Yeah,
Yeah,
It's usually
I think
weird times.
Stockholm. I think Stockholm would be earlier. If local time in Stockholm would be 7 p.m. I'm gonna
I think it's
say
like a 6, 7 hour difference. I want to say. So if it
yeah.
was 7 o'clock, it would be like a noon start, which wouldn't be that bad on the weekend, but on a weekday that'd be a little weird.
Stockholm. I'm just gonna Stockholm and yeah. So if it's a 7 hour
Okay.
difference. No, it's not. It's a 5 hour difference.
Oh, it's actually
We're
not that bad then.
yeah. Yeah, it's a 5 hour difference. So the game would be at 2 o'clock or so if it was 7 o'clock local time.
That's a weird time, but
Yeah, I mean,
it
I
is
don't
what
know.
it is.
It is what it is. I mean, excited for it. So the Western Conference playoff race has become interesting as Utah and the St. Louis Blues getting hot. The Blues have actually won 3 straight games, or 7-2-1 in the last 10, and they have jumped the Calgary Flames in points. The Blues are tied with the Vancouver Canucks with points, and for that second wild card spot. However, the Canucks have 1 game in hand on the Blues, which gives them the upper hand in terms of points percentage. In Utah, I think they have a long shot, but they're only 4 points behind Vancouver and St. Louis. Never say never. They have gotten back into it. They're 5-3-2 in their last 10. Calgary, you're choking it, man. You're choking
They
away at
still have
playoff.
a really good chance. They're 1 game behind Vancouver. They're 2 games behind St. Louis, and they're only 2 points out. They're they're in the middle of an Eastern Conference road trip right now. They had a really impressive win last night over the Rangers. Saw some Rangers fans raging online. I guess the Rangers played horrifically bad yesterday. The only reason the game was even competitive was because of Shesterkin.
One of their worst games they played all season, by far.
Yeah, I think they had 12 shots the whole
Mm-hmm.
game or something absurdly low like that. Yeah, you can't call yourself a playoff team and then put up 12 shots in a game. I guess another team that's fighting for their life.
Calgary, they get the job done, and holy shit, I'm looking at their goals differential. It's -24.
Yeah. Well,
Rough.
Dustin Wolf's been a big deal for that team. So
I've stressed this all season. The Calgary Flames make the playoffs. Give Dustin Wolf the Calder Trophy, please. He's carried this team at times. He's been very impressive doing this as a young goaltender too. This isn't some like 26, 27-year-old goaltender who's taken this longer path to development. This is a dude who dominated the AHL. He dominated everywhere he's played, and now he's dominating the NHL. And he's been a big part in this Calgary Flames team. And this Calgary Flames team, hey, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they have a points score of over 50 points. If they do, it's like very low 50s.
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say their leading point getter is probably Jonathan Huberdeau or Nazem Kadri.
I
Huberdeau has
think
50 points, and Kadri both have 50.
okay, and they're tied for first on the team.
That I don't know, but
No.
I was just looking at their individual stats. I can pull that up real quick. Yeah, they
Yeah.
both are lead. They both have 50. And then third is Mackenzie Weegar with 41. So he's having a solid season there in
Yeah, I
defense.
mean their core players are playing better than they have in the past, but Calgary definitely does still have a chance. And like you brought up, like I'm not counting Calgary out, but I mean they can make up those two games, and it's so crazy to me that the fact that the St. Louis Blues have gotten back and they were like
They've been
seven
playing really
points.
well lately. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. All it's about hockey's about getting hot at the right time sometimes. Maybe they can ride this momentum in. I'm not sure. Let me look at their upcoming schedule to see if they play the Flames or the Canucks at all. They play the Canucks tomorrow. So
That's a huge
that's a
game.
big
Huge
game.
game. Huge game.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think they play each other again for the rest of the year. So that's a really big game for the Canucks and the Blues, and the Blues do not play Calgary the rest of the year. So
Things
that's
have
over.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting watching this race because like every matchup between whether it's Vancouver, St. Louis, Calgary, or Utah, they're going to be much watched because those games are going to be close, and both teams are going to be whoever's playing who. They're going to be fighting for a playoff spot, and they're going to be fighting for a living chance and fighting for that extra point. And when you go in against, even if you play like a team inside of your conference, you want those two extra points for possible break reasons because if let's say St. Louis and Vancouver end the season tied or like with Calgary or whatever, right? That divisional record and that in conference record means so much more. It means so much. And playing like if Calgary lost to New York last night, for example, but then let's say they go play a team like Anaheim or Utah in back-to-back days, for example, and they win both of those games, that's much better for them than if they beat New York and then lose one of those two games. Much better. And that's the key for both of these teams. And one thing to mention about Vancouver is Elias Pettersson has played better hockey his last 5 or 6 games. He's over a point per game. I think he's on a point streak the last time I checked a couple days ago. Maybe if they played since then, he didn't record a point. But either way, though, he's playing much better hockey in his last like 10 days or so, which is what the Canucks needed if they want to get into the playoffs. If they want to start to pull away from the Blues, from the Flames, even from Utah, you have to get Pettersson going. And Rick Tocchet preached about it in his press conference. Pettersson wants to slow the game down. He wants to control the pace more. And since he's been doing that the last little while, he's looked better. And Rick Tocchet is a type of coach where he'll acknowledge when you look good and when you play good, but he'll also call you out when you're not doing good. And he wants to see certain guys step up. And Pettersson right now is stepping up. And I mean, they're only 5-5 in the last 10, but I'm looking for Vancouver to stretch that to a 7-3 or maybe a 7-2-1 or something like that. And maybe putting it like a 7-2-1 is higher expectations than what maybe some people might think because the team hasn't played great hockey for a majority of the season. But again, I think this is a crucial stretch for Vancouver.
So let me ask you this: so out of these four teams, Vancouver, St. Louis, Calgary, or Utah, which one do you think makes the playoffs?
I'm going to look at. So I think I'm gonna go St. Louis off the top of my head. I'm looking at. I wanted to pull up the schedules, and I mean that game right now. You want it might be crazy to me, but whoever wins the Canucks Blues games tomorrow might end up getting in the playoff spot. But you never know because again, it's only 2 points. But
Hmm.
Calgary, like you said, they also have 2 games in hand. They win those 2 games. The Blues and Canucks go 1-1 in those games or whatever. All of a sudden, Calgary now is tied with them as well. So between these three teams, I think it's more realistic for the Blues. But I do think if there's one team that controls their own destiny right now, it is the Calgary Flames.
I agree with you. The Calgary, I think Calgary, if they control their own destiny, it's tough because I don't see Utah ended up making it. They kind of been on and off all year. I don't think they're there yet. Calgary's kind of been in that spot all year. That's why we haven't really talked about them too
Mm-hmm.
much. The Western Conference playoff race. I mean, frankly, it hasn't even been it hasn't really been as interesting as the Eastern Conference playoff race. I think there's a lot more better teams in the East fighting for that last spot. I mean, if I had to pick two teams that I would think about picking, it would be St. Louis or Calgary. I think if you look statistically, St. Louis is the best team. They're the only team out of those four with a positive goal differential.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we'll see on there. But I think I lean with you on St. Louis, but my gut's telling me to pick Calgary.
But also, okay, we're gonna. So me and you both think Calgary or St. Louis are gonna be one of the two teams that snag that final wild card spot. Then
Yes.
the one advantage I'll give to St. Louis over Calgary is I would first off I would love to see Calgary in the playoffs. No, I've been hating on them for the at least at the start of the season. I'm all for it. I've become a Dustin Wolf fan. I love him, fanboy here. Um, but St. Louis has a much easier schedule. I'm gonna go through the schedules just real quick. Nothing, not gonna really glance over anything. Blues, Canucks, and then the Blues also play in order the Blackhawks, Predators, Canadians, Predators, Avalanche, Red Wings, Penguins, Avalanche, Jets, Oilers, Kraken, Utah. So the last 5 games of the season are a little bit tough, but then you get games against the Blackhawks, twice against the Predators. So I guess looking at it even the Penguins and Canadians they're not surefire wins, and I do think getting 3 wins against Blackhawks, Predators, the Blackhawks and the Predators twice would be
I'd say
nice.
Montreal's a tough game. They're in a
Oh, they
playoff
can
spot right now
score.
too. They're
Yeah,
battling for their playoff lives as well. They had a big win yesterday over the Senators.
and then with Calgary, they play a struggling Devils team, then an Islanders, Kraken. They play the Stars, Oilers, Avalanche, Utah, Anaheim, the Knights, the Sharks, the Ducks, Wild, Sharks, Flames. Sorry, Knights, and then Kings. So,
I really
it
think this is going to come down to the last couple games of the year, regardless.
yeah.
It'll be fun to watch. I'm definitely not invested as I am in the Eastern Conference playoff race. I'll say that. But let's be honest. Do we think any of these teams even have a chance to beat the Jets?
Oh no, nope. I don't. But if there's one team out of these 3 to 4 teams, it's as a wild card 2 team, who has the best shot to potentially upset Winnipeg in the first round?
I think I would have to pick Calgary just because of Dustin Wolf.
Yeah, I mean he's the only goaltender in my eyes that can even have a realistic shot of holding his own against Connor Hellebuck. Now, although Jordan Bennington's having a great season, don't get me wrong, and I think St. Louis's roster is better than Calgary's roster up and down the lineup, but I like your point about Dustin Wolf. He's had a phenomenal season, and although you can make the argument for St. Louis, which I'm going to make now, is Jordan Bennington's been in these spots before. Stanley Cup winner. I know the 2022 playoffs, he didn't have a strong playoff his last time in, and then I think he got hurt, so that's why Husso came in for him in the middle of that, in the middle of the first round, going into the second round. But I personally, I like St. Louis to potentially upset. But again, I see where you're coming from with Calgary. If Calgary ends up taking them to 6 or 7 games, I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest with you.
I mean, but Winnipeg's just a different beast.
I mean, none of these teams. Let's be real. None of these teams are going to upset Winnipeg. Winnipeg's, I think, is going to win in 6 games max. With realistically, with any of these teams, if Utah, for fuck's sake, somehow gets
Well,
in,
Utah gets
they're
swept.
getting swept.
Yeah.
Vancouver, I think that's a 5 game series. Calgary and St. Louis, I think, is a 6 game series.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I still think it would be the funniest thing in the world if the Jets lost in the first round again. I really do. Especially if it was like Utah of all teams.
Nah, if Utah gets in, I don't know.
Congratulations.
I don't know.
You're
I
getting
don't
your
know.
ass kicked.
What if Utah just comes out and is like, yeah, we're gonna.
Christ. I'm gonna buy a new webcam.
Okay. What if Utah comes out and is like, fuck you, Winnipeg? They win in 7 games. They move on to the second
Then they're
round.
winning the cup.
Or if they beat Winnipeg, if one of these teams beat Winnipeg, they're going to the cup. Although I don't know because we're being satire by the way, guys. We're not actually being serious.
I
Just like
am.
to think.
The Jets fucking suck. They're the worst first place team ever.
Get the fuck. Okay, fuck you, fuck you. I don't know. The Western Conference
Mickey
is.
Mouse Western Conference.
So you're calling a Western Conference with Dallas, Colorado, Vegas, Edmonton, LA, Minnesota, Mickey Mouse.
Cup is staying in the East.
Although, who do you have winning the cup?
I
Florida?
don't even know anymore.
Yeah, do you know what? That's fair. That's
My
so
preseason
fair.
pick was the Oilers, but if we're going based
They're
on that, I
ass.
guess it's the Oilers. They're not that dude.
We want to talk about Winnipeg being ass. We can throw Edmonton ass, and every team but Florida and Dallas is ass.
Connor McDavid's better than a whole Jets team.
That's a very hot take.
Stuart Skinner better than Connor Hellebuyck.
Stuart Skinner might be one of the worst playoff goaltenders, and that's not even me hating this. Me being realistic.
Did you watch him in the playoffs last year?
But that was last year, though. I remember we were talking about it going into the season. If Stuart Skinner played that way this season, he'd earn a nice little 6x6 contract extension.
But he get more than that.
Well, exactly. And now he's working himself out of a 3x3 without.
He might be working himself out of a job.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean,
Like just
fuck
in
it.
general.
Bring
You
in,
might
bring
have to
in,
move.
bring in Calvin Pickard. Start in the playoffs. Game 1 against the LA Kings. Shoddy.
I'm not writing the Oilers out.
As long as they have McDavid.
I'm not going to write out any team with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I'm just not.
Listen, we're gonna get part 4 of Edmonton, LA. If the playoffs started right now, I know I said it last night that I'd take Edmonton in 7 games in that series. I'm switching it up. LA in 7.
No.
I don't come on, dude. If Quentin Byfield plays how he's playing right now with 13 points in his last 6 games,
McDavid better.
give me LA in 7. It's LA is finally
The
their turn
Oilers
to
are
get over the
not
hump.
losing in the first round.
I swear to, bro, I will put everything on this. LA will beat Edmonton as long as both teams are healthy. I don't care that the
No,
Oilers.
it's not happening.
I don't care that the Oilers have McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard.
The Oilers are just a better team,
No,
straight up.
dude. The better team. Okay, maybe Edmonton's the better team overall. I don't like their goaltending. Give me Darcy Kemper. Darcy Kemper has been way better than Stuart Skinner. Granted, that's not a.
My question is, can the Kings contain the Oilers' speed? I don't think they can.
I think they'll be able to.
They haven't been able to for 3 years in a row.
They have one of the lowest goals against numbers in the entire league. They score
McDavid
goals
is
too.
different in the playoffs, man.
I don't care.
I'm not betting against McDavid. I'm not. Not in the first
against
round.
Connor McDavid. I will bet against Connor McDavid because
What are we betting then?
This LA Kings team has depth. Byfield's been playing better. He hasn't.
They don't have Connor McDavid though.
I don't care. They haven't particularly played he hasn't particularly played his best hockey of the season. You have Adrian Kempe, who is great. Kopitar is still one of the best two-way centers in the league. Kevin Fiala's had a great season. I love the LA Kings depth. And you know what? If Edmonton went out there and won in 5 games, won in 6 games, I'd be like, you got Connor McDavid. He put up.
Shut up.
No.
You can't say that now. Come on.
No. I'm still picking LA in 7 games, but the way that I look at it is the way that I look at it is if Edmonton wins in 5 or 6 games, I'm like, I can see it coming, but I'm picking LA in 7 games because I think that they can finally get over the hump. And if they don't get over the hump, that's where if you're LA over the summer, you have to do everything in your power to go out and get a first-line scoring forward in your top 6 because they have top 6 guys like Kempe, like Fiala, like Byfield. Byfield, first-line center. Love him. Actually, he's not even playing center. He's playing right wing, according to here, I guess. So get somebody to match up with with Byfield and with Kopitar, and I think you're great. And we talked about it.
They played 2 more times before the season ends, so we'll see.
Yeah. What's the season series at? Do you have
it up? It's 1-1, but they haven't played each other in months.
Since probably before Christmas.
I mean, these last 2 are literally like the last 2 weeks of the season. So if they're going to be Edmonton might win the division still. I'm still not writing them off for winning the division. They're only 2 points behind Vegas.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, Edmonton has a solid side, especially with Vegas. It feels like they're almost playing average hockey right now too. And Edmonton, if they can string together some wins here, I mean they've already won 3 straight wins. So I mean they string together another 3 straight wins, they're could win the division. So
Dude, I don't know where this Kings love is coming from though. All of a sudden,
I had it over the offseason, and then it faded away.
why did you never bring it up then?
I brought it up. I will go back in the videos after this. I brought it up.
I mean, I'm not gonna press you on it. I don't really
Okay.
care.
Okay. Okay.
It just kind of caught me off guard. It's like, oh, the Kings are beating the Oilers. Give me Oilers in 6.
I'm not LA in 7, but I'm not confident. Honestly, I'm not confident. Again,
No,
like,
I wouldn't be confident in that because they're not. I don't even think
but
there's gonna be a game 7.
but I don't think that's like Edmonton is 6 decisive, like you do.
I do.
This series is going 7 no matter what. If LA keeps playing
Playoff
how they are,
McDavid is different,
I
man.
don't
He
care.
got
I
a
don't
taste of
care.
it last year, man.
I
He
don't
wants to go
care.
back.
I don't care. I don't care. This is the first time where I feel like LA can beat Edmonton.
How many Kings games have you watched this year?
Total of actually take a guess.
2.
3.
Yeah, that's what I thought. 3. Oh, I thought you were saying 0.
No.
That's how many I've watched this
No,
year.
no. To be in your defense, though, they play at 10 o'clock like most of their games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not really interested in them. I don't really think they're that good. I think they're a boring team.
I hope every LA Kings fan that clicked on this video is flaming you right now.
They're probably going to finish right around 99 points again this year.
I mean, this is a team that always finishes between the 96 to 99 point range. Maybe they'll crack 100 here and there. But I mean, the last, 3 seasons, they finished third in the division? Last 4?
Something like that. I think they were like kind of a surprise a few years ago when they made the playoffs, and I was like, oh, we didn't know they were ready to make that jump. And yeah, then they lost to Edmonton. Yeah, Edmonton's coming second the last 3 years, and the Kings are coming third the last 3 years. Calgary won the division that year. Ooh,
Which
the
year
first
was
time
that?
they played. This was 2022. Calgary won the Pacific. That was the last year they had Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk and Sean Monahan.
Was 2022, was that the year that Calgary made it to the Western Conference Finals, or is that Edmonton in 22?
They lost to Edmonton in the second round. They got spanked.
Yeah, and then Colorado spanked Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to your point about LA here, they're only 5-4-1 in the last 10, and Monday they lost to Minnesota. However, though, before that they won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight games. 2-1 in overtime, 6-5, 4-1, 3-0, 1-0. That's back-to-back shutties there. The 1-0 game was in overtime. That was against the Predators. They beat the Caps, Isles, Knights, Blues in back-to-back games, both in extra time. But I know me and you are on different sides of the spectrum and stuff like that. I might have kind of already brought it up, and I don't watch the Kings much, so answer this as best you can. Going into the offseason, let's say you lose to Edmonton a 4th straight time, right, in the playoffs. Going into the offseason, give me one need that you have to look at in the mirror if you're LA and be like, it's a necessity to get before training camp starts.
A top line wing, a top line forward. They need a guy that. I mean, I think Quentin Byfield's going to keep developing. I think he has the potential to be like an 80-point, 90-point guy. He's been playing a lot. He had a really bad start to the year, really
Very
bad.
bad.
He's been better, a lot better the last couple months. If you look at him statistically wise, that was probably going to be a jump back from the stats he had last year, which people were like starting to hop on the hype train for Byfield. But they need a legitimate top 6, preferably first line forward that could score 30, 40 goals a year. I think that's the main thing they're missing is they don't have that superstar.
I felt like I know they were kind of in the hunt for Mikko Rantanen and for some of these other guys like a Brock Besser and stuff. LA reportedly offered a 1st-round pick for Brock Besser, and Vancouver turned that down.
Yeah, I heard
So
with Brock Besser, I think the GM said he said something to me like if you would have heard the offers I got for Brock Besser and turned them down, you would have thought I was insane. Why would you say that?
no, he said that the offers, that if you would have heard the offers, that it would be like disrespectful towards Brock Besser.
Oh, I must have heard that wrong then. I thought it
But
was the other way around.
either way, though, like whatever quote he said, I think a first round pick for Besser isn't that disrespectful.
I mean, unless Vancouver's like super adamant about re-signing him,
Hmm.
but they probably would have done it by now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they should have done it by the deadline if they were going to resign him.
I mean, maybe they were of the perspective of like we might legitimately make the playoffs this year. If we want to do anything, we have to have him on our team.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the way they thought looked at it. But back to LA.
yeah, and like you said, I felt like they should have went all out for somebody at the deadline. Like you don't need to go out and get like a Mikko Rantanen, and we'll get into the Mikko Rantanen stuff in a second because LA was going to trade for him or was not going to be have Byfield included, but Mikko Rantanen did not want to sign in LA. So obviously LA is like, yeah, no, we're not going to trade for a rental, which they felt like they weren't a contending team, and deservedly so because they are not a contending team that can go out and give up all these assets for a rental just to get bounced in the first round or whatever. So going into the offseason, go pursue a Marner if he hits the market. Go pursue a Besser, which I think he'll hit a market. But I think a lot of this you have to do via trade because we've talked about it before. The free agent market, especially up front, it's not that great. And a lot of the guys that seem available now, we're going to see them a couple days before July 1st hits. They're going to re-sign with their team for whatever deal. So I think if you're going to make a trade, you can and you can put Brant Clark up for trade, see what you can get because I know their GM actually a time after there were rumors that Clark was available, shot them down saying that he was never available for trade, and then like a week later, reports came out again that he was available for trade at the deadline. Like, why deny shit if it's clearly true? And maybe the rumors are just them, like the media stirring stuff up like they always do. But if it gets leaked multiple times, then there clearly has to be some truth to it. Maybe that's just my delusional thinking. But I think you can use Brant Clark as a trade piece if you can get better at a certain other position, like the top six, like your first line scoring winger, like we think LA needs. If you're going to trade Brant Clark for another Kevin Fiala or Adrian Kempe, which can fill into your second line and be like a
Oh,
50
those are
point guy,
great
don't do it.
second line guys.
Right.
They're missing a first line. They don't have a first line.
Exactly. That's the one thing that this team has missed for years. And I get Doughty isn't getting any younger, so Clark can be the replacement for when Doughty retires after a couple years. But again, sometimes you have to sacrifice something to get a more of a positional need, and they can also improve their top 4D and their top six. And as long as you have Doughty, Doughty's coming back for another season next season unless something dramatic happens. Go out, use
Mhm.
Clark as a trade piece. Go use your prospects, your picks for trade piece, and go out and get a top six guy. That's just me. And if they get a top six guy and they get a scoring winger, and right now, a year from now, they have a player on their team who is over a point per game, who has 30, 35 goals by this point, maybe they'll be taken a little bit more seriously by a lot of the NHL media and community. But until then, until they keep matching up at Edmonton, they're going to be looked at as underdogs in the playoffs.
That's my whole thought process
Mm-hmm.
on the Kings. Though is they don't really have that first line that you can match in the playoffs. They have some great two way forwards. Like Anze Kopitar is a legend. He's one of the best two way players of all time. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's still great. He's 37. He's not going to play forever, but he's still really really good. Still arguably the best player on that team at 37 years old. But then their leading point getter is Adrian Kempe with 55 points. He's not a first line player in my opinion. And Kevin Fiala is great too. He was really good when he first came over. He's kind of dialed it back. I think he could be a good first line winger, but you really need Byfield to develop into a first line elite player like you thought you were getting when you drafted him second overall.
I I completely agree with what you said. Byfield needs to take that another step of being a. You don't need him to at least this season go on a ridiculous run and be like over a point per game to end the season. You'd love that, but I don't think that's going to happen. That's not realistic. But what you need from Byfield going into next season, show us you can give at least 70 points or whatever. Like you drafted him to be that big body centerman, and you move him over to the wing, and he's played better since he got moved over to the wing at the before last season. But you just need to find that guy to pair him to help move him along, and maybe for the first couple seasons, the next couple seasons, excuse me. He just needs that guy that can help elevate his game so he can develop to another level, and then eventually he'll be able to take over a game by himself or be able to produce at a more consistent rate. And I'm going over because I just looked at the stats of Darcy Kemper. I did not realize Darcy Kemper was having a very, very good season. 216 goals against, which, again, LA does a good job at limiting shots, so take that with a grain of salt. But a 918 save percentage to go with it. So he's making the saves he needs to be. And that, again, that's going back to the Edmonton point. I think they have a huge advantage over Edmonton, but then, again, like you said, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl is probably going to win another Hart Trophy. He's already at 50 goals this season, if I'm not mistaken, or very close to it.
He's going to win the Rocket this year for sure. The
Yes.
Hart, I'm not sure of. That's getting pretty tight between him and McKinnon.
Between what, the Hart, you said?
Yeah, for him and McKinnon, yeah.
What's it? Oh yeah, it's turned into a two-main race at this point with the Hart.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Two.
McKinnon has 103 points. Draisaitl has 101.
I mean, that's gonna be a ridiculous Art Ross race. I'm not gonna lie, and Hart race too. I mean, I'm very, very intrigued for that. And I mean, it hasn't really been a super high-scoring year in terms of the top guys. Like sometimes by now, you have a guy at 115, 120 points maybe. We're talking to you, Connor McDavid specifically.
Yeah, he's only at 89. He's washed.
He's also dealt with some injury issues too early in the season. So how many games has McDavid played?
62.
Okay, so I mean he's only missed like 4 games, but that's ridiculous too.
He'll still get 100 points.
Yes, that's ridiculous too. Is that McDavid has 89 points and he's like, yeah, he's playing okay. I can't wrap my head around that. Let's head over to the Mikko Rantanen and stuff real quick because it was very interesting last week that Rod Brind'Amour ended up saying that Rantanen went into right when he got traded. Rantanen said there's 4 teams that he'll sign with, and you're not one of them. To Rod Brind'Amour.
There's no way he said that. There's no way he said that.
He doesn't come off as a guy that will say something like that. I feel like
you don't get traded to a team and say, "And by the way, I'm not fucking playing for you."
Like that makes no sense. And the Canes.
I'm not saying
salty.
Rod Brind'Amour is a liar, but he was probably emotionally charged. He was probably pissed off. That Rantanen left. He never really gave him a chance. I don't think Rantanen was really a good fit for that team anyway. Not with the way his play style. Rantanen commands the puck, and he's really good at driving zone entries, and the Hurricanes aren't that kind of team. They were like more of a dump and chase, get in your face kind of team. But, I mean, I can't, maybe he alluded to something like, I don't know, I really got to think about it before I make a decision, and it wasn't just like, where do I sign type of thing. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I don't know, that kind of felt like someone who's like a little butthurt about what happened.
I mean, Carolina's won 7 straight games, by the way, which is...
Oh, yeah. I mean, they'll be okay for now. I think this really hurts their chances of, winning a cup this year. But I think more of it, their reputation got hurt a little bit more, that they can't sign stars.
I mean, we've seen it 4 players in the last year and probably 14 months end up just you trade for Gensel. I mean, we all knew Gensel was a rental. We all knew he wasn't returning. But then there was a report in the offseason saying they were planning on to only be able to sign either Shea or Pesci because they couldn't afford to sign both. Didn't end up signing either of them. And then now this stuff with Rantanen, I think, is the worst of them all. I think this is where you have to just be self-aware. And you brought up a good point last night when we were talking, prepping for this episode, that maybe the Hurricanes wanted to keep this on the low. Maybe they didn't want to make it a bidding war and it get leaked out. So they're like, fuck it, let's just get this trade done. Because this trade felt like it almost quite literally happened overnight from what I heard. There were extension talks between the Avs and Rantanen, and then Rantanen said a few days later he was traded without any Avalanche front office member coming to him, and without, this was when Rantanen, I think he denied like a $12.5 or $12 million offer or something like that from the Avalanche. And I mean, some Avs fans are mad at him, but also when he ended up returning to Colorado earlier in the week, he got a tribute, and also he got a lot of round of applause, a standing ovation. So there were some Twitter uh, keyboard warriors that were saying that he should be booed, and he wasn't.
I
Which
mean, I'm glad he wasn't booed. I don't think he really left the Avalanche on bad terms. From what I've heard, it sounds like even he was shocked with how everything transpired. I don't think he ever wanted to be traded. I think even Nathan McKinnon said, like, I never thought he'd leave. Like seriously, I was never worried about the contract because I thought he wanted to be here. And as far as I knew, Rantanen wanted to be there too. It was just they were in the contract negotiations. He said no to what the Avalanche thought was their best offer. They ship him off to Carolina, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Whoa, whoa! Could you have at least called me beforehand? Like one last round of negotiations or something?" So I think if they would have done that, I think they would have found a way to keep him.
yeah, and
I don't think he truly wanted to leave Colorado. I mean, if they were going to slap him in the face and give him like a horrible offer, yeah, you're going to leave. But he was in the middle of negotiations in the middle of the season. Just focus on that.
right, like were they really that worried about him leaving in free agency? Like that comes to my
I think it
head.
was more of what the offer they got from Carolina. I think they saw getting Martin Necas and Jack Drury and clearing up that cap space gave them flexibility to do other things, and I think they're in a better place now than when they had Rantanen. To be honest with you, obviously you'd love to have him still because he's an elite player in the league. I think he's a top 10 player in the NHL right now. But if you don't move on from that Rantanen contract, you don't have to worry about getting him signed. You free up a ton of money for now and for the future, and you can just go out and make moves. And they will look from like a playoff team, like maybe second round exit to I think a cup contender again.
I mean, I agree with that take, and don't get me wrong. I think the Avalanche are better now than when they were before they
They
traded
have much
Ranson.
better depth, much better depth.
Much better that their depth down the middle is great. We talked about it in our
Hmm.
post trade deadline episode. Those three centers that they have now between McKinnon, Nelson, and Coyle,
Oil, yeah.
great. It's great. So it's nice that even though having Rantanen, who when he got traded was one of the leading point scorers in the league, you can throw him as your second line center beforehand, like when you needed him to, because Middlestat wasn't playing great. Get rid of Middlestat, trade him Rantanen for Jack Drury and Martin Necas. You add that Martin Necas' speed with McKinnon. Now you also go trade for Nelson and Coyle at the deadline. Now all of a sudden, your roster has so much more depth, and that's what McFarland, their GM, stressed about after trading Rantanen. Is he understood like not only with the money they had to give Rantanen, but also they have to get Makar at the end of next season, which he'll be eligible for an extension, and he's gonna. Oh, I don't even want to know how much money he's gonna end up getting, and then you improve the depth like this. I think it's a done deal. Their GM understood the assignment, and I know it's tough trading away McKinnon's best friend, your third best player on your team. But at
That's
the end of
wild that he's the third best player on that team.
that is ridiculous, though. I don't get
Like
me
you can't
wrong,
even
but
debate because you have freaking MVP who might be back to back MVP, and you have the best defenseman in the league on your team.
it's nuts. It truly is nuts. But again, it's a business at the end of the day, right? The GM, that's his job as well, is to make the team better, and for most teams,
He did.
actually,
No, I think
he
they
did.
have one of the best GMs in the league. It makes sense why like Joe Sakic like kind of stepped down for the GM role because they didn't want to lose him.
Yeah, yeah. So here it is. Props to you, McFarland. Props to you, Avalanche. You made your team better, and now I do think
And then
that.
Dallas got a superstar too, so they're happy too.
I mean, Miko has played fantastic in
He's
Dallas.
a
I'm
much
just
better fit for that system.
Yes, he is. I'm just glad that all like this Miko drama and stuff, I guess drama with air quotes, is over and done with for the most part. Because frankly, between me and you, like it was every week something else would come up. We're like, okay, like the it was the same thing with like the Vancouver stuff, but it didn't feel as like,
The Vancouver stuff was way worse.
of course,
Yeah.
it didn't feel as more like driven or whatever. It didn't feel more dragged down, I guess is the term. Um, but it was like, okay, like we heard some stuff about the Miko stuff. Well, there's some more leaks coming from Miko and Carolina, and again, it just wasn't a good fit. And at the end of the day, Carolina, I thought they ended up getting a good return in the trade, getting Logan Stankoven, who's looked great in a Carolina Avalanche,
Carolina Avalanche, nice.
in a Carolina Hurricanes uniform. and he just fits their system more. So if this is a lesson that everybody listening or watching, sometimes it's not about getting the best player; it's about getting the player that fits the system
I
best.
mean, but Mikko Rantanen, I think, would have been okay. He would have been just fine on Carolina.
Although, if I'm being completely honest with you, I wonder how much of Miko not playing good was him just being like, I really don't want to be here.
I don't
So,
think it. I mean, if you
really?
watch some, I've watched some of the highlights of him playing there. I watched a couple of videos, like doing a deep dive, and he wasn't playing bad. It was just he was getting unlucky with bad goalies making big saves or just barely missing the net. But he was trying. He's more of a low key kind of player. Like I feel like people don't. He has a ton of points, yeah, but he's a big playmaker, and he lurks in the zone. He does a really he's really good on the team that plays with a lot of speed. Like if you go back and watch some of his tape when he was Colorado, he let Nathan McKinnon drive the play because like fuck, why wouldn't I? Like he's one of the fastest players in the league. Let him come up with speed. He's really good at reading the defenseman and reading the play and kind of maneuvering his way around there to get to a good spot to open up a play for something else or to get a pass and feed it back to somebody else. That's his game. And with Carolina, it just wasn't going to happen as much because they dump it in. They're one of the more heavier dumping teams in the league just in general. And Dallas plays a lot more like Colorado. They have more speed like Colorado. I'm not saying Carolina's a slow team, but that's just how they choose to play. That is their system.
And the Dallas and Colorado are built very similarly,
Hmm.
except obviously Colorado has McKinnon and Makar, and I don't think the Stars have those two type of players. Although they have a Miro Heiskanen, they have a Robertson, they have a Johnson, and the list goes on. And they also have the
And
veterans
they
in
have a Mikko
Colorado.
Rantanen.
Exactly. Now they have a Mikko Rantanen, and he fits the mold great. So
That's gonna
love
be
it.
they're probably gonna play each other in the first round, and that's gonna be crazy. That's
I
gonna be a great series.
I so fucking. We'll get more
That
into it. We'll
that
get
should
more.
not be a first round matchup,
We'll
but
get more into that on our next episode, guys. But that that should
one of
not
those two teams is not
never.
going to be in the second round of the playoffs.
I think that that matchup would be a great second round matchup if it's not
Oh, it
conference
should be a
finals.
second. It should be a second round matchup. It should not be
Yes.
a first round matchup.
No, get the fuck out of town with that shit,
I
please.
mean, it's gonna be fun to watch, though. That's
Of
why I think the
course.
first round of the playoffs is the best round because you have so many teams playing, and you have one or two duds, but most of them are really good series.
Most of the duds are usually like the top team in the division playing the wild card two, and it's like this wild card two team barely snuck in, and they're just happy to be there, and then they get smacked.
Yeah, I feel like that will be the case this year in the West. Like with
Yeah,
the wild card two team probably getting spanked by the Jets. I think in the East it will be a little bit of a different story. I don't think the Capitals are as dominant as the West, and I think the Eastern wild card teams are a lot better than the Western wild
they're
card
much
teams.
better. I mean, yeah, with like Washington, if they end up facing an Ottawa, Montreal, New York,
That would be
Detroit,
fun. I'm not New York. No, not the Rangers,
no,
but
you
any of the other teams, that would be fun.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And I think Montreal would be great. Ottawa, we've stressed multiple
Ottawa's
times.
probably going to be wild card one,
Give me
but
that. Give me
yeah,
that. I agree.
they're playing
Um,
Florida or Toronto most likely.
either way though, we're getting a great matchup with that. And then I think Detroit in the playoffs would be okay. I
I'd rather have them in the playoffs than New York or Boston.
yeah, New York or yeah, Boston that most definitely. Sorry, Jimmy.
Boston
Most
will get killed.
Boston would get smoked, and I think New York would be doing Igor a disservice by getting in.
I mean, you
That
never know. He might be able to steal in the series.
I mean, it's the
I mean,
first round. He's stolen them plenty of series before.
he's been playing a lot better lately.
Yeah, and they need him to. And feel bad for him what happened last night. Rough, very rough. Hashtag free Igor. He should have
I mean,
just walked.
I just want the playoffs to start already, man.
Me
I'm
too.
over it.
Me too. We
I'm
have a
over
month
this.
left. We have a month left. I think the playoffs start like the 17th or something
I
like that.
mean, we
Maybe
should
around
start
there.
getting into scenarios where teams are going to start clinching spots soon.
I mean, if we want to talk about clinching spots, the San Jose Sharks clinched an
Yeah, I was
elimination.
about to bring that up. Technically, the Chicago Blackhawks can still make the playoffs.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Any team except the San Jose Sharks have a mathematical chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, give me Chicago.
I mean, Chicago's going to be eliminated
Let
within the
me
next
hammer
like
that bet right
couple
now.
days.
I
But
wonder if I can even make a bet
I
on that.
highly, I
Let me
highly
check
doubt it.
real quick. I doubt I
I
could
highly
bet
doubt
that.
it.
I bet I could. I doubt I could bet it. I don't think they like.
What?
Okay, like we like free money, but like, dude, you gotta chill out.
What? What betting app are you going on?
I'm checking FanDuel.
Love it. FanDuel, by the way. I haven't bet in like, I
There,
don't know,
you can't even make a bet on that. The team with the lowest odds is Utah.
in the West or just in general.
In the West and the East, it's a little bit more open. The lowest team they'll give you is Boston.
I don't,
Oddly enough, like they'll let you bet on the Wild to make the playoffs. But
I mean, the
yeah,
Wild are, that's pretty much free money at that point, IMO.
yeah, you could bet on the goalie that Ovechkin will score his next goal on.
Hammer Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
He's not on there.
Wait, is it just next goal or goal?
Oh no, he is back. No, so his 895th career goal. So they play the Islanders next. So it's plus 850 Sorokin. It's plus 700 for an empty net.
That's nuts. He's what, 7 goals away? 8 goals still? I think he's still 8 goals.
8,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's still 8 goals away. It would be so. Before we end this episode, it'd be so Buffalo to allow like Ov to get 4 goals and break the record.
I'd be happy. Shit.
Yeah, that's true. Is that game in Buffalo?
No.
It's in Washington.
Yeah, it's in Washington. But I mean, I just want the Sabres to lose.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? If Ovi's 5 goals away from breaking it, I want them to pull the goalie 5 times. Give them the.
Okay, here's a question. If anyone's still watching this late, I'm not sure if anybody ever gets this deep into our episodes. If you're still watching though,
Confidence.
let's say you are a fan of a team that's not doing so good, like you're a Sharks, Blackhawks, Predators, Sabres fan. Do you want your team to win right now? Because I hate cheering for my team to lose, but like we're not making the playoffs. What's the point of getting a worse draft position? Like I know some fans like to frown upon that. I honestly don't. I mean, because what else do we have to cheer for?
I mean, you're not wrong.
So let me know. Are you openly cheering for your team to lose, or do you just not care and just want the season to be over?
Looking at the like top 5 to 7 guys, like we talked about Matthew Schaefer, James Higgins, Michael Misa. I think Porter Martone is a solid one. Roger McQueen, I've heard he's good.
This is a draft you want it. Like this isn't a great, super deep draft class, so having a top 5 pick will go a long way in this draft.
This draft, you want a top 5 pick, preferably top 3. And then next season is going to be much, much deeper at the top of the draft. Whether I know Gavin McKenna, but then also like throughout the entire first round, it's much deeper than this year. So, I mean,
this year doesn't even have a conclusive first overall pick. Like,
no, it doesn't. It all depends on it's not like we've seen with Bedard or other first overall picks where he's going first no matter what. Whoever goes first, whoever gets first overall pick, it's going to depend on their positional need. The Sharks,
for sure.
the Sharks, they're going defense. With the Blackhawks and Sabres, if the Sabres somehow get first, or the Blackhawks too, they're going either
the
Misa or Higgins.
Yeah, they're probably taking a center. The Sabres would take Misa or Higgins. They'd be over the moon to get either
What
one
about
of them.
the Predators? Are they going
Nashville? I mean, they still got Roman Josi. I think right now, the chance to get a first line center, I think, is more important.
Yeah, I mean they need a first line center, especially
because with San Jose, you can argue they have Macklin Celebrini, so they should be theoretically set for a long time. He's looking like every bit like the first overall pick. He's been having an awesome rookie season, and Chicago has Connor Bedard, James Hagan, and Michael Misa will be a really, really good second line center, like long term. But the Sabres and the Predators, Philly is up there. They really need a first line center, really badly.
Badly, yes. And
San Jose and Chicago are probably the only 2 teams at the on this list that in the bottom 10 teams in the league that don't need a first line center, and they're going to have the top 2 picks most likely. So,
and you can argue like you brought up Connor Bedard with Chicago, but also you need to surround him with some other talent too, because Macklin's in a different situation with San Jose. They surrounded him with pieces in the top 6.
Celebrini's in a much better situation.
Yes,
I think he's in a smaller hockey market too. Like San Jose does not make nearly as much attention as the Blackhawks do.
Yeah.
So a little less pressure on him, but he has more help around him. Like there's not all this. I feel like the weight of the world's on Bedard's shoulders, and it looks like he plays with that weight on his shoulders.
He just needs to take a couple deep breaths to relax, but also I feel like he knows in the back of his head he feels like he needs to do it all because his fucking line mates are ass.
Yeah, it's not his fault. Like, there's not really had great roster construction around him. I think San Jose is better positioned for the next few years. I mean, if Chicago gets like Michael Meese or James Higgins, that might, I think in 3 or 4 years they're going to be a contender again.
As long as they build around their foundational
Yeah, they
pieces,
have
great.
to. Yeah, I mean they're going to have plenty of money to spend. I mean, players are going to want to come play with Connor Bedard and
If they
insert second line center here because in
as
my opinion they're picking Meese or Higgins.
yes,
They're going to get one of those two.
as long as they have Meetzer, Higgins with Bedard, you have Levchinov as your defensive core foundational piece. Just go out and just start building depth. You don't
Mm-hmm.
now you're at the point where you don't need to go get washed up veterans for quote unquote leadership for your 20-year-old, 30-year
They need to
player.
get the right vet, so they don't need to get like Pat Maroon or Nick
You don't need
Foligno. I mean, no disrespect for them, but I mean they are good pro locker room guys, but they're not going to really bring you a ton on the ice.
I love Teravainen and like Bertuzzi, but they're not top 6 guys anymore. They're like your third line guys that can give
Mm-hmm.
you 35, 40 points a season and be those tough, gritty guys if you need them to. Like they're
I
getting up
mean,
there in age.
it should be interesting. I am planning on doing a lot more scouting this year, so I'm a little bit more informed for our mock draft,
Yeah,
so I
me
don't get
too.
flamed by everybody.
Fuck it. I mean, I felt like we didn't do too bad for like almost damn near no research,
I mean,
dude.
I feel like all of our comments were Montreal fans calling us
Dude,
morons.
most of them were. I do appreciate the fact though of like some people being like, you know what, here's my mock draft, and they just comment. I'm like, you know what, fucking go for it, bud. Love that, love that. That's gonna end it for today's episode. If you guys enjoy all of our content, all of our socials are down below, as well as hit subscribe button. If you guys are listening on Apple and Spotify, head over to our YouTube and subscribe there for more exclusive content. We'll see you guys in our next episode.